Hey guys, in today's class, I'm going to show you how to confirm an uptrend or a downtrend in a Bollinger Band. Now, yesterday I mentioned that the Bollinger Band is one of the best indicators you can use out there as a beginner or a professional to enter a trade profitably. Now, the more you use it, the more you understand the Bollinger Bands, and you can earn more from from using this indicator. All right. Now, I mentioned that the first thing is to check out for squeezing band. This is the first instruction we talked about yesterday. We talked about this yesterday. You can check that video in the description. Okay. The next thing is the time frame is important. We talked about that yesterday. Also, check the video in the description. Next thing is to confirm the trend. All right, confirm the trend. This is what we'll be talking about today. How to confirm an uptrend and a downtrend. All right, this is what we'll be talking about today, and we'll be using three rules to confirm the trend. First of all, the money flow index confirmation. Secondly, check candlesticks color, and thirdly, the BBW indicator. All right, so I'm just going to go straight to the first picture here. Now, I told you that the first thing you have to do when using the Bollinger Band is to check out for where there is a squeeze. All right, a squeeze is where the top band and the lower band are trying to come together. So this is a squeeze, okay, where the band are shrinking. Now, when there's a squeeze, there's a possibility of the price going up or down. So it is your job to confirm the signal, because there's what they call false signal, which we'll talk about later in this video. So one of the best ways to confirm that it's going to be an uptrend or a downtrend is to see that the first full candle, a large part of the candle is above the up band. You know it's an uptrend. All right, when a large part of the candle is above the upper band, all right, you know it's an uptrend, because you can see this candle right now. The large part of the candle is above the up, have broken above the up band. Okay, you know it is an uptrend. Now there are other indicators we'll be using together with this to confirm, and then you enter the trade, and it's going to turn out very, very profitable. Okay, so go straight to the next picture here. I'm going to show you this again. When you find a squeeze is when the upper band and the lower band are shrinking or coming together. All right, when they are coming together, this is a very important period that it can be a buy sign or a sell sign. Like I mentioned yesterday, you can use this Bollinger Bands to trade your futures, sports, or your forex. All right, so how do you know it's going to push up? You have to check out for the first band that this is not a signal, this is not a signal, this is not a signal, this is not a signal. Okay, because a large part of this band is still below, a large part of this candle is still below inside of the Bollinger Band. This is not a signal. Now this is the first signal, because a large part of this candle is above the upper band. This is the upper band, this is the middle band. I'm going to show you something, because most people don't know. This is the upper band, this is the middle band, this is the lower band. When a large part of the candle is above the upper band, then it is a sign that you can enter a trade, a buy trade or a long trade if you are using futures. All right, now of course, assuming you have entered this trade at this point, you would have enjoyed all of this whole profit. So let's get straight to the next picture. This is another sign. Okay, this is a long squeeze. I told you that the first step is to find out where the band is squeezing. Okay, the squeeze is a very important sign. Now you can see there is a long squeeze. There have been a long squeeze here. That is a long period of low volatility squeeze. Now I told you that there's what they call false signal. You would think it's about to break out, but it is not going to break out. All right. Now you can see I mentioned that a sign that you can enter a trade is when a large part of the candle is above the upper band. Okay, that is when you can enter a long trade. But here you can see a large part of this candle is above the upper band, but it started coming down. This is what is called a false signal. And in today's class, I will tell you how to identify false signal, and then you can avoid the trade. Of course, we're going to use other indicators to confirm this. All right, so let's get straight into this. This is one last example I'm going to show you before we get into our proper trading, and I'll make you understand how it works. Now, this is the sign you should be looking out for where the band is squeezing. Yeah, this squeeze sign is where you should be looking out for. Now, the next step is to identify a proper entry point. Are you supposed to enter down or upwards? This first green candlestick has a huge part of it inside the Bollinger Band, so it is not a sign. There is no sign here except from this one. This is the first candle where a huge part of the body is above the Bollinger Band, and this is a good time to enter this trade. All right. Now, assuming you enter this trade, you'd have ended up making cool profits from this place. But then there are other indicators that I'm going to show you that you can use to confirm that this is a correct time to enter the trade to avoid false signal. All right. Now, let's go straight into those. Let's go straight into trading view proper, and I'm going to show you how this works. So this is a chart for Ethereum, and let's get straight into today's business. All right. So I'm going to go back. First of all, we are looking out for where the band is squeezing, wherever the band is squeezing. So here there's a good amount of squeeze here. So this is a proper squeeze. I mentioned that you must first of all check out for where the band is squeezing. Tell yourself the truth. Be disciplined to find out for where the band is squeezing. All right. Now, when you find out that the band is squeezing, the first sign shows that a large part of this candle is now below the lower band, and it is time to enter a sell trade or a short signal if you are using futures. Assuming you enter this trade here, you'd have ended up making a lot of profits, okay, here, because this is where you can actually sell at some point. All right, but there are other indicators we are going to be using to confirm this. All right, and one of that indicator is called the BBW. So you can come to the indicator area of your just come to the indicator area here, and you select the BBW. Just write BBW, and this is the Bollinger Band width. This is the indicator here. I've already added it. All right, so the indicator is already on my screen, and this is it here. So what you're going to do is I'm going to open it up. This is how it looks like, but you're going to be going to the settings area of this indicator, and of course this is the input. Make it 20. Just you can see how I did mine: 20, close, 2, 125, and all of that. Make your settings just like this. Your visibility, your style. I untick this one. So normally it should be like this, but I removed it. You can see I left only the lowest contraction. All right, this is how it works. So you can click on OK, and let's go straight into it. How does this work? Now, whenever you see that the band is squeezing, whenever there's a squeeze, then there's a more like a flat state here. Now, when there is a high volatility, okay, then the band, this BBW starts to go up. All right, when there's a high volatility towards the downwards or an upward, the BBW starts to go up. So you can see when this band broke out, the BBW has shown that it is now breaking out. And how does it show it? By making this sign. So I would have entered this trade here, and it will be correct. All right. Now, one very important thing you have to understand is where to sell, or where to cut your where to actually stop your trade, where to take your profit completely from. I recommend that you can take your profit at the top, where you see, like at the peak of this BBW. You can see there was a huge pump from this area, and at the peak of this place you can take your profits. That is a very reasonable point at which you can take your profit. You understand this on the course of trading. All right, so let's get straight to another signal. All right, So yes, here is a squeezing band, and a lot of people would have said, "Oh, let us enter now." This is not a is a squeezing band, but this is not a good entry point because I mentioned that a large part of the candle must be out of the lower band before you know must be out of the lower band or upper band before you know where to enter from. This guy, this candlestick here should have been correct, but it is not completely out. So I would have ignored this because a large part of the candle is still inside, and that's why you see it came down a little bit and started doing as if it wants to go up. And for people who entered at the wrong point, this signal is a false signal and would have taken out your profit at this point. All right, you grab my point. So I mentioned that the signal must be huge, the candlestick must be huge and must have broken out completely below or above the upper or lower band. All right, so this candlestick has a large part of its body inside of the band, so that's why I personally would have ignored this, and of course you should also ignore it. All right, so coming straight next to this area, you can see here, okay, here is a squeezing band. Yes, would have been, you must have been following the band from here. So if you watch all these bands, no one of them have broken out. This one almost did, but it did not break out. Okay, so we still followed it. No one is breaking out. So it would have saved you a lot of stress. It would have saved you a lot of stress entering into wrong signals or false signals, and dropping or wasting some of your money is there. So the first proper signal we found was this guy. This guy, the two of them are nice. All right, so as when we entered here, you can see a large part of the candle is above, or this one, a large part of the candle is above, and the BBW tells us, you can see the BBW tells us that there's a swell. When there's a swell in the BBW, it's going up, then we would have entered at this point. And since it's a 1 hour time frame, you can use it on any time frame, but we are using it on a 1 hour time frame. You can find that if you put in our profit calculator, let's see how much we would have made from here. Okay, would have made give or take 2.5% or 2.6%. And of course, this is actually nice for you if you are doing day trading. All right, so the next thing, let's go straight to another sign. Okay, another sign, another squeezing sign. Yes, so this strategy is going to help you a lot because you're going to avoid a lot of problems when it comes to squeezing. So this band is actually squeezing. You can see this band. A lot of these people would have said, yes, this is a squeezing band. But here, where have the band broken out? Okay, you can see there is no breakout here. There's no breakout on this area. There's no breakout on this area. I'm going to zoom it in case you can't find it very well. So I'm going to, you can see there's no breakout, there's no breakout, there's no breakout, there's no breakout. This should have been a sign, but the larger part of the candle, we cannot say it's inside or outside. So there is no breakout. You would have avoided this false signal. Okay, so we are looking out for where the band broke out, and of course that happened here. A large part of the candle now formed outside below the Bollinger Band, and you'd have entered a trade here. All right, and of course this is also a good time to have entered this trade, and you must have sold somewhere here. I'm going to go back and show you what this would have done for you. So as when we entered at this point, you can see we would have sold somewhere here, and I mentioned to always sell at the peak, always sell at the peak of this band, of this BBW sign. Okay, so you'd have entered somewhere here. Okay, you'd have entered somewhere here, which is a good sign, and you'd have sold at somewhere here, which is just at the peak. Sell at the peak of the BBW. When you find that it's at the peak, so you'd have sold at least around you bought around one, you entered a sell trade or a short around 1914, and you'd have sold around let's say 1880, which is a short sign for those people who understand futures. So let's get straight into talking about more stuffs like this. So let's look for other signals that we would have taken advantage of. Okay, it's very important that you learn how to find um squeezing bands. Squeezing bands. Now the band was actually squeezing here. Of course, we can confirm that the band was squeezing here, and this place was a first sign that that a large part of the candle has broken out. I'm going to mark that point so you can understand what I mean. So you can see this candle here. This candle I've pointed was a was a first sign that the band is breaking out. Okay, and I'm going to put that white. I'm going to mark it, and of course, let me show you, because this is very important. Most people might make mistakes when they want to trade, and they get into false signals. So this sign shows that a large part of the candle is below the Bollinger Band, and the BBW also make us understand that we can enter the trade. Okay, so we would have entered the trade at this point, and of course short completely at this point at the middle of the BBW. Okay, at the middle at this point, this is where the middle is. This is where you can sell completely. So let me look out for a more proper signal. Okay, so here is another point where the band was squeezing. Here's another point where the band was squeezing, where you would have entered. Here, this is the first sign that you could have entered the trade. Now, this is, you can see if you come closer, this green huge pump is the first sign that you should have entered a trade at this point. Yeah, it is the safest. Yeah, I know it's late, but it is the safest way you'd have entered. And the BBW confirms that there was a pump here, and at somewhere here you'd have entered, and then you'd have sold at this point. You can see you could have sold at this point. Yeah, it's not, you can enter, it's a 1 hour time frame, so you can enter at 2374, and you would have been selling at the peak. And the peak here is around two the peak here is around 2550. You can see 2550, which is a good amount of profit. Okay, now this is a very powerful sign, and of course this is what you can use by yourself to trade. Coming to this area also, you can find this is another sign where the band was shrinking, another very, very good shrink. And let's look at what happened here. So on this area, you can see that there was a breakout on this candlestick. This is for people who do futures, all right? Futures trading, this is a really nice signal for you. The first sign, of course, is that the band will be shrinking. The second sign is that a large part of the candlestick will be below the lower band of the Bollinger Band, and this is where this signal comes from. So you'd have also opened your BBW and confirmed that trend, okay, that BBW is swelling, okay, the BBW is swelling to the top, and then you'd have entered a short trade. And of course, I mentioned that you can sell at the peak of the BBW, which is somewhere here. Okay, it's very good sign. People who have more risk management skills, how to adjust your take profit and stop loss, you can actually go as low as this place and make maximum profit for yourself. Because for me, when I'm taking profits, you have to set your take profit so that um you can take profit, adjust it, take profit, adjust it, take profit, adjust it. Then you'll be able to maximize your take profit and stop loss. But I recommend, if you're just new, make sure you are taking your profit at the peak of the BBW, which is somewhere around this point on my screen. Okay, so let's talk about few more examples. So here is a false signal, but I've taught you how to identify that. All right, now here you can see this is this is a very good squeeze, and we are not supposed to regard this. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in right now. I'm going to zoom in to show you something. So you can see this area. This is a squeeze, perfect squeeze. We are waiting for a breakout. This is not a breakout. I mentioned that a large part of the candle must be above or below the below the bollinger band. So this is supposed to be a breakout. All right, this is supposed to be a breakout because it's a good sign here, and the BBW is also showing that it is swelling at this point. So assuming you entered here, you would have just enjoyed some little bit of profit up to this point, and then you are off the market. All right, you're off the market. Now I mentioned that there are signals that you can also use to further confirm um, your Bollinger Band trends, and of course this BBW is one of them. There's also what we call the money flow index, and that is also a very nice one. All right, so I'm going to show few or more indicators, few or more signals, and definitely we'll call it a day for this particular one. All right, so let's go more. Let's look at one more. Okay, now this, let's just use this one as the last one. All right, there's a squeezing band here, a perfect squeezing band, a perfect opportunity. And a lot of people be wondering, is it going down, is it going up? First of all, look out for breakouts, and look out for the fact that a large part of the candlestick is above or below the band. So in this case, a large part of the candlestick is not, you are following it, and this is where I'll say a proper breakout started from here. So at this point, you'd have entered a trade. Okay, you'd have entered a trade here, and then a short trade, of course, people who trade futures, and you'd have enjoyed until the peak. This is the peak of the BBW, and this is where you'd have taken your profits. Okay, because after here, it can start coming down, and you can see the price is retracing back upwards. So this is going to be the end of this class, guys. And of course, if you have any questions, let us know down below, and I will bring you more signs, more indicators, more signals that you can use to maximize your trading activities and earn some profit. If you like this video, of course, you can use some 2 minutes to give this video a like, and of course, let us know what you think about this on the comment section, and we'll bring more your way. Have a very wonderful day, guys, and see you on the next one.